What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. Last week, I got the whole hot side of the turbo system done, bracket built, got the start of the downpipe, and wastegates are on. Got a sway bar tube made as well, so that's pretty cool. Really stoked on the way that stuff came out and looks and the way it should function. Spent the last few days cleaning the shop up, so it looks a lot nicer in here. We put some shelves up all over the place, got a lot of stuff picked up off the floor, so I'm not playing jungle gym trying to get around stuff. I got another layer of fiberglass down on this, waiting for this to cure. Um, so I'm hoping that'll be done, ready to pop out of the mold or get the plug out of the mold in the next day or two. Um, However, what I really want to do is get a turbo drain made. So normally you want the turbo drain being straight and then going, but I wanted the turbo really low because it allowed me to kind of keep everything in a position that looks good, that keeps everything away as well. So what I really need to do is do like a 90-degree turbo drain. However, the problem with most 90-degree turbo drains is they end up backing oil into the turbo past the bearings and into the exhaust housing and the charge housing and really create lots of oiling issues. But most turbo drains are also dash 10. So what I'm going to try is we're going to do, this is a 1-inch tube that I had bent from calibrating my tube bender to the Bendtech software. So this had like a 60-degree angle bent in it, and I just cut it to a spot that fits really well, ground it to the right angle. So I'm going to weld this. I ended up cutting this flange out on the plasma table and then machined an O-ring groove in it. So this has an O-ring groove, no gasket. It'll be a lot easier serviceable at the track if I need to. Hopefully not. I'm going to weld that onto that and then figure out how everything lines up. Hopefully get the turbo drain all figured out on this. All right, so I got the drain tube all welded up. I got an O-ring put in it. It came out pretty good. Stoked with it. Welds look decent. It's a little O-ring groove that I put in there. Hopefully this is focusing. But O-ring groove, O-ring in there. Pretty sweet. But I can't do anything because I don't have a dash 12 AN bung to weld to that tube. So I kind of forgot about that part. So what I'm going to work on now, I don't have the aluminum tube I need for this, but I do have some other aluminum tube. So I'm going to try to get this mounted. Once this is mounted, then I can figure out my bash bar for the front of the car. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I also got to get my power steering pump mounted. I've also got to build little headlight buckets holders. But I pulled something on my back pretty bad, so I'm moving really slow today. So we'll see how far we get. I also got my buddy Matt coming. He sent his cage cage that we got up on the shelf. He had that sent here, so he's coming to pick it up. So hopefully he's gonna give me a little bit of a hand. But yeah, see how much work we get on this. All right, so I got the trunk lid popped out of the mold. All of this is the wax that you put in between the little wings for the flange and the part itself to seal it. So I'm picking that off now. There is some parts that the gel coat kind of got under it, so it's gonna have to get touched up and then sanded down and stuff, but it came out really good. I'm really stoked with it. The actual mold itself, like the main part, came out really nice. I'm not entirely sure if it really needs any touching up or anything, so I'm just going to get the wax out of there, and then yeah, we should be able to make a part out of this. All right, so being is I'm waiting on some stuff to finish the charge system. I'm actually going to go in a different direction with it. I really just need to get this part done, so we're going to kind of do stuff a little differently than I had hoped. But basically, this is a Vibrant Super Titan 90. It's 3-inch tube. My intercooler is 3.5. and then the outlet is of the turbo is 2.5. So as long as I'm going bigger than the outlet of the turbo, we're in good shape. So what I'm going to do is I've got a piece of 3-inch tube in the press with my flaring bearing, and I'm going to flare a piece of 3-inch up to 3.5 to fit onto the end of that. I'll weld it onto the intercooler, and then I'm going to do the same on the charge side. I'll do a piece of 2.5 that will go from, I'll do a silicone coupler from this into the intercooler tube. That'll be 3-inch neck down to 2.5. So we'll be continuously going up in size. And then I've got a 3 to 4-inch silicone, vibrant silicone coupler here. Pop that right on the throttle body. And then the other end will go right here, like so. So that'll look like that. And hopefully it all works. All right, so I got the end of this flared, and basically the way I did that is this is just a solid steel chrome ball. You can buy them off Amazon fairly cheap. I've got 2 of them. I've got one for a 3-inch, and this is a 4-inch. So basically use the 3-inch to go from 2 to 2.5, 2.5 to 3, and then this one's to go from like 3 to 3.5, 3 to 4, something like that. But they work really well. Since getting this flared, now it fits on the intercooler pretty well. And then I can weld that around that. I'll probably cut it down just a little bit, we'll see, but yeah, I'll be able to weld that tube there to that there and get it where I want it. Alrighty, so this is kind of what I got going on. So I got one of those vibrant super tight 90s tacked to a piece that I flared, and then just a regular silicone coupler. I like silicone couplers because I don't have to weld like anything to the throttle body. So if I have a throttle body fail at the track, I can just source one at the parts store or anything like that. And then kind of same down here, if I have a turbo fail, I can kind of go to a different turbo if I need to in a pinch. So obviously if the intercooler fails, well, I'm kind of screwed there, but hopefully the intercooler doesn't fail. But this is kind of what I got going on. I'm going to cut that, do another flare like that, weld it on, and then have both pieces to the intercooler go on this. So it should work well. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. But and then I'll probably weld blow-off valve somewhere. I still got to figure that out. But yeah, something like that. This is what I got going on. I'm going to flare that piece, tag it onto that, and go from there. Alrighty, so I got the charge cooler all plumbed. Ended up using 2 3-inch 90s. Went from 2.5 off the turbo down to up to 3, up to 3.5, down to 3.5, or down to 3, and then back up to 4. So not really exactly the way I wanted to do it, but it worked really well, and it doesn't look too bad. Pretty stoked with it. I still got to build a mount for the charge cooler. Probably going to come off of here with a couple of pieces of tube and just do some bungs like I did on the radiator and the ice chest, but looks pretty good. So I got the blow-off valve flange welded on, and I ended up making this one little bracket. It's a chromoly tube. I ended up bending it in my brake line bender, heated the crap out of it, and then just bent it in that, and it worked out pretty well. So this is just some 1/2-inch chromoly tube, some 411 works bungs, welded that together, came out nice. I'm stoked with that. So it's pretty solid too. It's not really going anywhere. So the charge side is done. I'm gonna have all this Cerakoted, I think, and then maybe have my logo engraved in it. So we're laser etched in it. Hot side, charge side, all that's done. The only thing I got left is to do wastegate dumps, and then also got to build my downpipe. Yeah, pretty stoked on that. So I'm going to probably cut up the factory hood now so I can get the hood on it, get the front bumper on it, figure out exactly what I'm doing crash structure wise, how much I'm cutting it up. Then I can build some headlight holders, go from there. All right, so I just realized one thing. So one thing I wanted to do that I was kind of keeping from you guys was I wanted to run all of my hoses through the frame. So problem with running the hoses through the frame was A, I needed bulkheads everywhere, which was going to be super expensive. B, I had to run them from basically here through. I talked to Kevin Wells about cutting a hole here and running the hoses here, but he said no because it's cutting in between the subframes. So the rear, I was just going to cut holes in my end caps and then run them through. But there are tubes that run through here. So these bolts go through the frame, through these tubes, and then that's what the subframe bolts do. The problem with that is there's not enough room to get a -16 AN hose in between. It barely fits, but the problem is I wanted to build brackets that bolted all 3 hoses on either side together and then feed that through the frame rail and bolt that into the inside of the car, because the frame rail runs basically inside the car. So I was just gonna have studs beyond those little brackets, but so that's not gonna work. So what I'm gonna have to do is run all my hoses basically through the cockpit. So it's gonna kind of stink, so figure that out, but we'll get that all sorted. I'm gonna get these frame rails capped and then start building a crash structure. Ooh, you guys just missed it. I just caught on fire. Oh, you did? Alrighty, so I ended up getting the frame rails capped. I got this 2 tubes bent up, welded together for a bash bar. Came out pretty good, stoked with it. So this is the main crash structure. Off of that, I'll weld some plates, and then I'll build a different crash structure, like a bash bar that's removable, that will hold headlight buckets and stuff, little headlight holders, and then a big bash bar to hold like the front bumper, stuff like that. So pretty stoked with the way that came out, but it's gonna do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoy the videos. Please like, share, comment, and I'll catch you on the next one.